Cancer, this is your October 2023 soul story. If you have a sun rising or your moon is in the sign, you might find that this reading resonates for the month ahead. It's Romy. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me and to tune into my channel. So we are opening up this month with the energy of the Emperor. And even though you may feel the universe is throwing you in at the deep end a little bit this month, and it's that almost sink or swim, you are most certainly emerging more capable, bolder, braver, and just feeling more secure in many areas of your life. Now, October is definitely one of the more intense months of this year, but what you will find is that the amount of energy generated, through these eclipses, the fact that we're also working with the veil at its thinnest as we approach Samhain and Halloween, you're able to kind of harness and leverage that power. And an awful lot happens in a really short space of time. And the Emperor tells me that you have some incredibly important negotiations and discussions that now need to take place. Now, we've come out of the full shadow of Venus and Mercury, which means that an awful lot of information that had been held back or held up, or just where there had been perhaps some confusion or misunderstandings, we now have clarity. We now have what is going to appear to be some very direct, obvious signs as to what now needs to happen next. And the requirement on you this month is to kind of take control of that a little bit. We're also aware, of course, that Libra season is fourth house energy for you. So there's a requirement for inner parenting. You need to give yourself what you need as you come to terms with where people are in their own journey. And because we have such an emphasis around relationships this month in Libra season, and especially with the eclipse in the sign, you are going to be directed to notice where you continue to try to change things about people that you love, because here is a deeper message for you to really reflect upon the loss, the wound, the grief, the absence of that thing that you are seeking from that person. And I just think you're coming at this from a more mature perspective that really understands what it's going to take either to progress, to try again, to evolve, or to release and move on. And so that kind of an approach, that the Emperor is helping you with in the month of October puts you in a position where you feel more empowered and you've got a little bit more confidence to speak up and express yourself. Remember, even though we're still experiencing some planetary retrogrades, you're never truly going backwards. You're only ever really going deeper into experiences. So one thing to bear in mind as we sort of move into the first part of October is on the 8th, Venus finally shifts out of the sign of Leo and comes into Virgo. So our love language changes and it's acts of service now. It's not just about telling someone how you feel, it's about showing them. And the Chariot comes through with your second major arcana here, saying that there is a way through and is a way forward, but it does require an action to be taken. Now, the Emperor is going to help you with that strategy and the direction. So this is not just a kind of wild goose chase that we're on. But remember, it does feel, for Cancer, especially this month, that the kind of safety crutches, the stabilizers are all being removed. And so there's an exhilaration around that sort of propelling you forward, okay? But on the same token, the day that Venus shifts into Virgo, we also have this really kind of charged energy between Pluto and Mars that can come across a little bit aggressive even. But it does give an opportunity to truly break through and break free from something. But it may sort of emerge in a feeling of almost like a showdown or head to head or face to face that kind of has been put off for some time. But it will clear the air. Now, we do need to remember that this month, of course, is going to be charged and full of that sort of wild card feeling. So there's going to be more than a few unexpected twists and turns and some surprises to land. So what emerges around that conversation or information that needs to break around the 8th, you keep that very much in mind, because in some ways it's also the universe showing you perhaps where you need to stand up, where you need to hold your position, where you need to be strong in the face of those winds of change or adversity or kind of what's coming at you. You know, you do have this hindsight from the experiences that you've been through. You do have this experience, and you do have like a greater degree of acceptance in some ways around much of what's transpired, but none of that means that you have to be showing up in any kind of a suppressed energy. Far from it. The other thing we want to remind you of course, with 4th house is that there's no place like home, as Dorothy would say. So this is a season where you need to find groundedness in the places and with the people that feel good to you, because that's also going to truly help you to navigate any important, you know, discussions, negotiations, conversations that need to take place. Everything starts with relationships. So no matter what you have going on in your life, in other areas and other themes, all of them in some capacity are linked either to the relationship with yourself or involve connections with other people. And so as we really address what's going on with those connections, and we see whether they are enabling and supportive and allowing for growth, or if they are the source of our resistance, our distraction, then you start to find like clarity and solutions. And, you know, High Priestess is really kind of helping you to trust yourself in the way in which you are reading the energy of the room. What we need to remember is that what it is that we're trying to achieve and attain, we also need to remind the body, the mind, the soul, that it's safe to allow and to receive that, which I know sounds obvious, but it's something that you need to remind yourself through this month of October, especially where a lot of the energy is going to feel quite charged. Mars is going to move into the sign of Scorpio the day after that Pluto stations direct in Capricorn. And so, you know, this disruption to our equilibrium with Pluto waking up, and also the reminder that this is the sort of the final lap, the final part of the journey that we've been navigating with Pluto in the sign. And, you know, we have to be prepared to kind of, you know, it is this sink or swim. It's like we are embarking on a completely different experience in our life, a new way of being. And we don't want to get caught up and held back to have to repeat patterns when there's no need to. We have learnt and evolved and grown from that. And Mars in Scorpio will bring you that sort of intense laser-like focus. It'll also mean, with regards to the relationships and connections that you have going on, that you are feeling an intense desire to want to resolve things so that you can align with the people that you know are going to be good for you, supportive for you, help open doors for you, bring out the best in you. And, you know, there may be that feeling of like, I just want to have some sense of exclusivity. In fact, that word comes through really strongly, so it may kind of land in different ways for you, but that kind of wanting to be exclusive, perhaps in a relationship, or wanting an exclusive agreement with regards to something. Remember, Libra's coming through as the diplomat, the negotiator, and the terms and the agreements that we're now arriving at coming out of all of these retrogrades are going to be really important. But remember, the eclipses are going to no doubt bring some, you know, unexpected storylines to the surface. So it's almost like we might need plan A, B, C, and D. And even then, just still be a little bit fluid and a little bit open as to the way that destiny is going to be driving some of these conversations. You know, there are months that, you know, we have to ask questions, and then there are months that give us compelling consistent answers. And October is definitely a month of the deliverance of answers. And what that's going to help with is a sense of renewal for you, this fresh start, perhaps this decision to try again or to direct your energy towards something that you know is more wholesome for you. and that cup is overflowing. So there's a generosity that comes in October that again might surprise you. This could come from somebody looking in your direction and just really wanting to show you. Remember, Virgo, acts of service, don't tell them, show them. So that feels like it's on its way. But there's also a recognition from your perspective of what it will take. Remember, as you seek out those places, environments, and people that feel good to your nervous system, that this is what I need to surround myself with if I'm going to continue to forge ahead and to kind of navigate some of these challenges that might be surrounding me. But it's a beautiful energy that also sort of initiates like a new experience. And I think your willingness in October to have new experiences is incredibly important. So as the new moon arrives on the 14th in Libra at 21 degrees, and what does it highlight? The demands within our relationships and connections that we have and that are put upon us, but also the desires that we have. So as we work with this story, it began in 23, spring of 23, Northern Hemisphere. It goes right through to spring of 25. And what you're being invited to do is to let go. Remember, it's transiting South Node. And so, there's a release of what isn't serving, like codependent situations, and just kind of allowing more healthy, expansive, oxygenated experiences in. And I think something around that new moon is surprising in its offer to kind of initiate or embark on a fresh start. But it feels something that you're seeking or that your heart is definitely connecting to. But remember, we have this sense of all the kind of stabilizers and safety barriers being removed. So there might be some slight sense of uncertainty or even insecurity as you also kind of feel into things in and around that part of the mid-month. You've got so many of the majors coming through here. It's happened in a lot of the soul stories this month, which, again, just really reminds us that, sometimes when we work, with these astrological conversations, there are certain periods through the year where they really are kind of stepping in and directing fate in so many ways. These experiences are coming through with you to kind of help bring you into harmony and union with the things that are meant for you. Ace of Cups and the Lovers, certainly for those of you with a focus and emphasis around relationships this month, gives an awful lot of green light and positive energy to work with. But I think you also need to remember that, ushering in a new identity, which kind of almost feels necessary with the Ace, the new beginning here, and implementing the changes so that you don't return back to old pain, but you do welcome new love, even if it's with existing people, isn't easy. And it can be incredibly ungrounding and dysregulating, and it can cause that sense of doubt and uncertainty, but we must keep going. The Chariot is advocating we must trust in this process and this path. And again, as you allow yourself to inner parent the things that you feel you're not being given or that are not showing up for you in the right way, then there's a healing component that can come in at a much deeper level, which as we start to work more with Scorpio energy through the month, is really an invitation to go deeper than we feel at times comfortable with. But for you as a water sign, perhaps a little bit easier to speak that language and go right to the depths of the emotional experience, if you like. So Mercury shifts into the sign on the 21st, and then the Sun will enter Scorpio on the 23rd. Again, you seem to have a very intimate, important conversation taking place that asks for a decision to be made. I feel like there's a promise that gets, articulated by you, okay? And, what I feel is that there's almost like two parts to that promise. It kind of feels like there's two actions that are going to have to be fulfilled, and that might take a little time. It might be over a period of weeks or months or even over this next year that you're able to fully manifest. But what I do think is it's going to be wholly worth the investment. And so there is this level of consistency, and the Emperor's kind of giving you like that long-term view on something, so that you're not just making like rash, impulsive, like short-term decisions. And because of the nature of the way that some of the energy of October might be illuminating and highlighting things that you hadn't even appreciated or didn't know, or even sending you off in a different direction than what you'd expected, we have to kind of suspend judgment a little bit as to how we truly think, this is going to play out, and almost release some expectation around the timeline of it, because I do feel you'll get more instant reward or gratification, but I feel like there's a second part to the promise or the commitment or the agreement that's made that we do need to kind of allow for some time to pass before that fully sort of shows up and reveals itself to you. So keep that in mind, okay? Another major death coming through here. I mean, the change is inevitable at the moment, and the experience, remember, change can come in a little bit uncomfortably at times. And, we have to remember we are not going backwards, but it also requires us sometimes to let go of something that we felt we needed. I think there's something that you think you need. I think I need this in order to be able to continue on this path, or to get what I want, or to, evolve in the way that I think I should. But I think the universe is going to tell you different. And I think there might even be a little confusion on your part with regards to that. Why do I not need this when I thought this was such a fundamental part or foundational piece? But that will come to light. That will become very clear and obvious to you as to perhaps why your connection or your alignment or your attachment to that wasn't necessarily on the right vibration or frequency. So let's talk about the end of the month. We have this incredibly potent lunar eclipse arriving on the 28th in Taurus, 5 degrees. And it's the closeout. It's the final show, curtains close, on a conversation that started in November 2021. And so it has been a dramatic series of eclipses that we felt under that Taurus and Scorpio energy. And, no doubt hitting in some capacity on your sense of security, emotionally, financially. You're challenged at this eclipse to find closure and to resolve something. You're challenged to address the lessons that you've learnt and to demonstrate the adjustments that you're making. And, as if it's not enough of an intense month, this particular eclipse also has Mercury, Mars and Jupiter in really hard aspects. So there is a very dramatic feeling and a very exaggerated, almost kind of charged, a little bit aggressive even, met in the wrong way, which can make that particular experience again feel like another sort of showdown type of moment. And perhaps the pressure, because again we realize, okay, this is it. There is a sense of finality to something coming, and it's necessary, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. Now, we do have a little bit more of a level-headed Saturn stepping in around that eclipse to kind of help turn things around, and just be a little bit more level-headed in terms of us really understanding where some of the exaggeration or amplification of stories or messages or emotional responses, once the dust settles, are perhaps not, something that we need to take as much or put as much store in. Yeah, we just need to sort of let some of that storm energy just come to rest a little bit. But it's certainly going to be an experience. And of course, it's right ahead of Samhain Halloween, where again, the veil is very thin as you're connecting and you're opening up. There's a flood of downloads, information, messages, but there's also the capacity to be able to tune in, to all sorts of energies. So you have to be really mindful, grounding, clearing, cutting cords, releasing yourself from any type of, energetic connection, and being really aware of that. But on the 31st, we do have this really beautiful trine with Venus and Uranus. So some real upside, some very unexpected twists again. So even if there's a dramatic showdown around that lunar eclipse, you know, and something that comes to light, again, there's something else even before the end of the month that wants to add into that conversation that I think will leave you feeling more elevated and actually a little bit more exhilarated about what's to come and what's ahead. Okay, so it's certainly going to feel like a bit of a roller coaster ride through the course of this month, but you know, you have this opportunity to really make immeasurable amounts of progress. Yeah, there's so much going to happen in such a short space of time that even if you felt that you've been a little bit behind, you know, in any area of your life, and even where you're addressing that, you know, there are things that are working really well for you, but there's also parts of your life where there's still a tremendous amount of dissatisfaction and frustration, which is absolutely okay. This month is going to almost determine how you're going to be addressing that moving forward. So pay attention to some of the themes and what comes to light, because it just feels like this is what the next round is about to kind of deliver for you. Yeah. But it's in a way to embrace it. The big news and events are certainly something that you'll want to be given a front row seat for, because they are going to have a very up close, personal and intimate impact on your journey. And even if you feel like you're going in at the deep end, I promise you, you're not sinking, you're absolutely swimming through the course of October. If you're new to the channel, Cancer, our last 3 cards we cover in the extended version of my reading, where I talk for another 30 minutes or so. So you can find that in the comment and description box underneath. Now we will go into this main reading in more detail, and we will also look at a personal question and a relationship card for you. So if you're enjoying the reading, please do join me. I'm just clarifying now to see the direction that we might be taking for some of these messages that came through, okay? And all the decks I use, as always, are listed below. Another High Priestess coming in there. 3 of Wands. So this month, my soul journey and meditations, there's an eclipse activation that you'll want to check out for your rituals. And there's also a really beautiful journey to connect with your spirit guide. Another Chariot coming through there. So again, as the veil is so thin this month, it's a beautiful time to be able to harness, strengthen, or introduce yourself to new or existing guides who are here supporting you. And in fact, I would look out for a really strong message from them, especially around mid-month for you, because it's meant to come in and offer a sort of stabilizing, reassuring feeling, okay? And I think it will be unequivocal in terms of like what it means to you. It will be deeply, deeply personal, and it'll have the ring and the energy either of a loved one that's passed over, or just an energy that feels very familiar to you. We have another Emperor coming in. 4 of Swords. Okay. So again, you can find the link for those in the description and comment section beneath. Over on the website, you'll see my Sacred Soul library, which hosts all of the meditations and journeys that I've created. Right, we're just going to look at some oracle cards for you for the month ahead as well. This is my own deck, Life Soul Vision. If you are new to the channel, again, please check out this sacred title along with my book, Moon Musings, which you'll find over on Amazon if you are resonating with what I bring through to the collective. Okay, we have the Gathering. We have Spirit Stag, Heavenly Timing. Beautiful. We have Alchemize the Egg. We have Mirrors of the Mind. We have Throat Energy. Vortex of Boundless Grace coming through. Some beautiful energies to work with. Okay, let's just pull finally a couple more for messages that we'll look at in the extended for you, Cancer. Okay, you have Spirit Guardian of Winter Retreat. And then finally, for October. Okay, we have Woman Holding a Coin. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate your time and energy. I hope you'll join me for the extended. I wish you a beautiful month of October. Be sure to check out all the links below for the additional work that can help support you in your journey this month that I've created. And I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.